Hello and welcome! Enjoy the content, don't forget to subscribe, and make sure to turn on notifications. John and Clara always shared a bond filled with laughter and easygoing moments. Their evenings often consisted of light-hearted chats, humor, and occasionally a glass or two of wine. On this particular evening, they were in their element, savoring a simple meal, the kind only longtime partners with deep intimacy can truly appreciate. The wine flowed freely as their conversation meandered from daily happenings to amusing memories from the past. John was completely at ease, laughing at Clara's jokes and relishing the vibrant energy she consistently brought into their lives. During this serene moment, Clara suddenly made a comment that caught John off guard. "What if we invited your best friend, Mike, to stay with us for a night? Maybe the three of us could have some fun," she said. The remark was as unexpected as it was bewildering. John froze briefly, his gaze fixed on Clara, waiting for her to burst into laughter and reveal it was all a joke. But instead of breaking into laughter, Clara met his eyes with a mischievous smile playing at the corners of her lips. John attempted to laugh it off as he usually did whenever Clara surprised him, but this time the humor didn't land easily. Mike, his childhood best friend, was like family, a fixture in their lives for years. Their friendship was built on trust and loyalty, qualities John couldn't imagine entangling with his relationship with Clara. "Fun? What do you mean?" he asked, laughing awkwardly, trying to decipher her intentions. Clara didn't let up, her tone playful, yet unwavering. "It could be interesting, like a game," she explained. "The game of seduction. Imagine sitting there, watching Mike flirt with me, and you wouldn't be able to intervene." She laughed, but there was a flicker in her eyes that made John wonder if there was more to her words than sheer jest. John smiled, still striving to treat it lightly, but the thought of watching Mike, of all people, seduce Clara was unsettling enough to dampen any humor. He briefly considered responding with a provocative comment of his own, but quickly dismissed the idea. Clara kept laughing, and he decided to move on, playing along for a moment before shifting the conversation elsewhere. As always, they shared a laugh and allowed the evening to continue as usual. Later, as they prepared for bed, John dismissed the comment as a wine-fueled joke born of their good spirits that night. Still, her words lingered in his thoughts, refusing to fade completely. When the house fell silent and the lights went out, John couldn't help but replay Clara's suggestion in his mind. By the next morning, the carefree mood of the previous night seemed to have evaporated. Sunlight streamed through the kitchen as John prepared coffee, stealing occasional glances at Clara, who scrolled through her phone in the calm of the morning. The thought gnawed at him. Was Clara truly joking, or did her words carry an underlying truth? As they sat for breakfast, John, still unsettled, decided to bring up the matter casually. "Last night? What you said? That was a joke, right?" he asked, stirring his coffee and trying to sound nonchalant. Clara looked up, her smile ambiguous, neither confirming nor denying. "It wouldn't be a bad idea," she said, her tone light but laced with a seriousness John couldn't ignore. His heart raced. Was she joking, or was there more to her suggestion? "Fun," he repeated, attempting to stay composed but unable to force a smile. Part of him wanted clarity, but another part feared what he might learn. In all their years together, Clara had never proposed anything so unconventional. "Of course," she continued, her tone as casual as if suggesting a new restaurant or travel destination. "Just imagine, it could be a unique experience, something new." Her words, though spoken lightly, felt impossibly heavy to John. He repeated them under his breath. A new experience, as silence briefly enveloped them. Clara sipped her coffee, as if the conversation were perfectly ordinary, while John grappled with a sense of unease. Something had shifted. Clara's proposal, initially dismissed as a jest, now seemed like a glimpse into a desire he had never noticed. Though he yearned for an explanation that could restore their usual levity, Clara finished her coffee and left the table, leaving him alone with his thoughts. John sat in silence, the weight of her words pressing down on him. A casual remark had planted a seed of doubt, leaving him unable to shake its significance. In the days that followed, Clara's suggestion hung between them like an unspoken question. John carried on with his routine, but found himself haunted by her words. "It wouldn't be a bad idea. It would be fun." They echoed in his mind, fueled by the possibility that Clara wasn't joking. One morning, as they shared breakfast again, John decided to confront the discomfort head-on. He set his cup down with a bit more force than intended, drawing Clara's curious gaze. "Were you serious?" he asked without preamble. "Serious about what?" she replied, her tone light yet curious. John hesitated, his stomach knotting. "About Mike. About the three of us. That idea you mentioned." Clara chuckled softly, her laughter free of malice but tinged with amusement. "Oh, that. I wasn't entirely serious," she said. "But I also don't see why we shouldn't explore something new. It doesn't have to be exactly that, but stepping out of our comfort zone could be exciting." Her eyes sparkled with a sense of adventure, as if proposing a shared journey. John sat silently, her words swirling in his mind. Could Clara genuinely be suggesting an open relationship? The idea unsettled him deeply. He knew it was a valid choice for some couples, but had never imagined it in his own marriage. Searching her expression for any sign of jest, he found none. "Are you really suggesting we do this?" he asked, his voice tenser than he intended. Clara sighed, as if clarifying something simple. "I'm saying we could explore new ways of being together. It's not about Mike, it's about us. But if you're not comfortable, that's fine too. I just thought it might be worth considering." She smiled, but there was a subtle sadness in her eyes, as if anticipating his inability to understand. For John, the discomfort only grew. John tried to mask his discomfort. "It's just, I don't think it's for me," he said. Clara held his gaze for a moment before replying, "I understand, but I just want you to see it's not such a big deal. We already share so much. I thought this could be another thing to share." Her words hit John in a way he hadn't expected. This wasn't merely a proposal for something adventurous. Clara was hinting at their bond, at a side of her he might not have known or been ready to face. He stayed silent, unsure of how to respond, and the stillness between them grew heavier. Clara, sensing the tension, calmly got up and started clearing the table, signaling an end to the conversation. John remained seated, staring into his coffee cup, feeling more perplexed than ever. A part of him wanted to fulfill what Clara seemed to long for, but another stronger part of him couldn't accept the idea. Something had shifted between them, and John couldn't shake the sense that it might be irreversible. As Clara's birthday approached, John, eager to break the growing tension, decided it was time to bring back their usual playfulness. He wanted to rekindle the ease and joy that had always defined their relationship. If Clara had suggested something bold, maybe he could surprise her with a different kind of daring gesture, one that maintained their characteristic lightheartedness. On the evening of Clara's birthday, John meticulously prepared an elegant dinner, choosing her favorite dishes and setting the table with care to create an unforgettable atmosphere. Ever since that coffee conversation where Clara had made her provocative suggestion, the idea had lingered in John's mind. He thought it might be time to demonstrate his openness to new experiences, something she wouldn't expect. When Clara appeared at the top of the stairs, radiant and excited, her smile reflected curiosity and anticipation. She seemed certain the surprise involved Mike, John's best friend, since it was with him that the earlier provocations had begun. Seeing the beautifully set table and glowing candles, Clara's smile grew, her imagination already running wild. John, nervous but resolved, poured the wine and met her eyes. "Clara, your idea about trying something different, it's been on my mind," he said. "I've decided we can give it a shot." Clara's eyes widened with surprise, and she leaned in, excitement lighting up her face. "Really?" she asked, her voice tinged with anticipation. She was sure Mike would soon join them for dinner. Then the doorbell rang. Clara, barely able to contain her enthusiasm, hurried to answer it, but when she opened the door, it wasn't Mike standing there. It was Amanda, her best friend, smiling warmly and completely unaware of what was going on. Clara froze, her smile faltering as she turned to John in confusion. John, attempting a nervous smile, explained, "Amanda doesn't know anything, but I thought, why not see if we could both try to charm her? Maybe something interesting could happen between the three of us." What John had intended as a bold surprise fell flat. Clara's expression darkened, her initial excitement vanishing in an instant. The evening, which had promised to be lively and memorable, quickly became tense and awkward. Clara barely spoke during the meal, her gaze shifting between Amanda, still oblivious to the situation, and John, who struggled to keep the conversation flowing naturally. Amanda, always perceptive, soon noticed the strain in the air. Clara's usual easy laughter was absent, and their interactions felt forced. Sensing something was wrong, Amanda eventually excused herself. "It's getting late. I should head out," she said politely, though her discomfort was evident. Clara and John escorted Amanda to the door in silence. Once she was gone, the quiet in the house became almost unbearable. Clara finally broke the silence, her tone cold and disappointed. "That was your idea? Amanda? Seriously, John?" He tried to explain, stumbling over his words. "I was just trying to follow your suggestion. I thought it's what you wanted." But Clara wasn't having it. What John had envisioned as a bold, fun gesture had turned into a disaster. After Amanda left, Clara stood in the living room, staring into the distance, her disappointment palpable. John approached her, guilt and confusion weighing on him. "Clara, I really thought I was doing what you wanted," he said, his voice heavy with uncertainty. Clara crossed her arms, taking a deep breath as though bracing herself. "I wanted you to understand, John," she said, her voice quieter now, tinged with sadness. "When I made that suggestion, it wasn't about anyone else. It was about us. I wanted to reconnect, to see if we could rediscover what we have together." John was stunned into silence, trying to absorb her words. "But you mentioned trying something new," he protested, running a hand through his hair in frustration. "I thought you meant opening up the relationship, exploring other things." Clara shook her head, her voice now softer, but filled with sorrow. "No, John. I meant exploring something new between us. I wanted to see if you still saw me, if we still had that spark. We didn't need anyone else. We needed to find us again." Her words sank in, leaving John feeling small and deeply regretful. The dinner, the surprise with Amanda. It all seemed so far removed from what Clara truly wanted. "I'm sorry, Clara," he said quietly. "I really thought I was doing what you wanted." Clara's expression softened slightly, but there was still a distance between them. "I know you didn't mean any harm, John, but sometimes I feel like we're not on the same wavelength anymore, like you don't understand me." The silence that followed was deafening. John felt the weight of her words and the emptiness of the night. There was no undoing what had happened, no erasing the failed attempt to reconnect. Clara turned and went upstairs without another word, leaving John alone with his thoughts. The sound of her footsteps echoed through the house, amplifying the emptiness. Standing in the middle of the living room, John reflected on how the night had unfolded. A bitter laugh escaped him. "Funny, isn't it?" he thought. When it was about Mike, she was thrilled, smiling, full of excitement. But now, with Amanda, it's completely different. This contradiction sparked a mix of frustration and curiosity in him. Was it about control, or was there something deeper he hadn't understood? As these thoughts swirled, a new idea took root. "I know," he murmured to himself, a sly smile forming. "On my birthday, I'll make a request like the one she made to me. Let's see how she reacts." But as the thought solidified, a deeper unease surfaced. He knew, deep down, that continuing this cycle of provocations wouldn't bridge the growing divide between them. It would only widen it. Yet, he couldn't resist the temptation. Standing alone in the silent room, John allowed himself one last laugh. "Well, let's see what happens." Thank you for watching. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications so you never miss an update. See you next time.